And I was told there was nothing that we could do about it, not improve my health. I was going to be in a wheelchair permanently, and this was the life that I had ahead of me, and I should get used to it. So that devastated me, and it also lit a fire within me that I am just not going to give up. And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to figure a way to do it, just to prove not only other people wrong, but myself, to know that I have the ability to take control over my life, no matter what the circumstances may be. And so that's exactly what I have done.
When you align passion, interest, and skill set, now you have something. Now you can build something. Now you can create something, because that's the recipe that you need for that fire, that never-ending fire that's required when you hop into an entrepreneurial journey, right? Because you're going to be tested, and you got to make sure that flame stays lit.
Hello there, everybody. Dr. John Chuback here. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. John Chuback channel and the Business of Better podcast. Today, we have two very special guests, Amy Rivera, who's a very old friend of mine who I've known for a very long time, and her husband, Will Rivera, who it's my first pleasure in meeting Will today. But Amy and Will have a remarkable story, and we're going to touch today on healthcare, wellness, lymphatic disease, lymphedema, and also, as we always do, a bit about healthcare and entrepreneurship. So with that brief introduction, because I want to give them the floor and make them the stars of the show as always, everybody welcome Amy Rivera and Will Rivera to the program.
Thanks for having us. And thanks for having me back again.
It's never enough. It never gets old, Amy. So, Amy, why don't we begin with you? Why don't you have our viewers know something about your fascinating and inspirational life?
Sure. So I was born with a rare disease called primary lymphedema. However, I was misdiagnosed and undiagnosed for over 32 years. And as I continued to grow, my right leg also grew to be 200% larger than my left leg. It wasn't until 2013 when I received the official lymphedema diagnosis. And at that time, my right leg was at the elephantitis stage. And I was told there was nothing that we could do about it, not reduce the size of the limb, not improve my health. But basically, I was going to be in a wheelchair permanently, and this was the life that I had ahead of me, and I should get used to it. So that devastated me, and it also lit a fire within me. Anybody who knows me, who's been following me for all these years, knows that I am just not going to give up. And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to figure a way to do it, just to prove not only other people wrong, but myself, to know that I have the ability to take control over my life, no matter what the circumstances may be. And so that's exactly what I have done, with the help of my husband, Will Rivera, because to be honest, when I first got diagnosed, I felt like I won the lottery, because there was a name to something that was attached to me. And all these years, I never met anyone who looked like me. I didn't know anyone who dealt with the issues I dealt with. And so I really felt alone and isolated. And the last thing I wanted to do was to share my story. Who was going to relate to me? Who's going to know what it feels like to be made fun of because they have two different size legs? Who's going to understand that doctors are telling you that you have these different diseases when they don't really know what's going on? Or nobody in your family knows what's wrong with you. So to me, the solution was to hide my leg. And unfortunately, that really took a toll on me, not only as a person, as an individual, but just my whole life. Every decision I made was based on who would learn about my leg and who wouldn't. And so telling my story was the last thing I wanted to do. But my husband saw the bigger picture, the bigger purpose, my why, especially after years of learning my heart and how to help people. He said, we've got to help people. And the first thing we had to do was help me. So I had to learn how to help myself through this lymphedema journey, how to understand what it meant to have a rare disease that progressively gets worse, understand how to manage the symptoms, how to control the mental health aspect of it, but most importantly, how to reach millions of other people who are suffering in silence. And in order to do that, in order to be a leader, I had to lead by example. And that is something I did not want to do because it was terrifying. But I understood the importance and the magnitude of the reach because I didn't want anyone else to go through 32 years of isolation and feeling like they were the only person in the world suffering in silence.
Amazing. Well, Amy's said some pretty powerful things about you there. What's your take?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you go back, you know, 10 years ago when this was all beginning, Amy has a story and she has a very unique resilience about her. And when as I continued, because I had all the same questions as anybody else, lymphedema, why can't you just poke the leg and drain it out? And, I knew nothing. Right. And then to see her go through this, she knew enough, but then she was learning and growing and learning and growing. And she was just very passionate about learning how to take care of what she had going on. And then when she found out that, there was a name for it, there was other people there for it. Anytime she connected with someone, she just had this different level of passion to just be a resource for that person so that they didn't have to go through what she went through. And when I saw her passion and knowing that she's a former nurse and I saw her skill set, and then whenever you can't really know something until you live it. You live it day in, day out, reps, right? You do the reps over and over and over again, you get better at anything, right? And seeing her take care of herself and then seeing other people who were struggling to take care of themselves the way that she was. And I was like, okay, well now she's taking interest in helping others learn how to take care of themselves. She has a passion to just help others and be a resource, right? And she has a skill set in doing so. And that's where the birth of it all begins. When you align passion, interest, and skill set, now you have something. Now you can build something. Now you can create something because that's the recipe that you need for that fire, that never-ending fire that's required when you hop into an entrepreneurial journey, right? Because you're going to be tested and you got to make sure that that flame stays lit.
Now, what did you say those elements were? Passion, skill set, and what was the third part?
Interest.
Interest.
Interest, 'cause
Exactly.
you got to be interested in something because she's gone down this path of never ending learning, right? She's not a PhD, but I've seen her sitting down at tables with 4 or 5 doctors and she's speaking the language like, when did you go to like medical school and get your PhD, right? Like,
Correct.
but she's had the interest. So now she's respected and she can be in conversations with the most elite doctors in the world in the lymphedema space, and she has something to offer. She can weigh in, sitting on the census board to help, insurance companies make the decision on what's covered and what's not covered, helping with revolutionary, projects and glide projects and all these different things, with all of these brilliant minds that came out of pure interest, right? And then her passion for helping people was the fuel to keep going and learning nonstop. And her skill set, she was already a former nurse. She's got that ability to know the human anatomy in the body. She's got that skill set. So, you combine that with a pretty face and then a lot of, you know, um, investing into all of the other things that needed, right? Amy's known as an amazing speaker, but she wasn't always an amazing speaker, right? We had to invest in speaking coaches and cultivate that, right? And her presentation skills became outstanding. Now she can command the attention of an entire room and you can hear a pin drop, whether she's speaking to children or high schoolers or she's speaking to medical professionals at a conference, like she can command the room, right? But that took work and time. and along with, many other skill sets. But yeah, I mean, it's once I saw that we had something, and then I also saw that there was a story, like, because attention is the most expensive thing that you can try to get, and you can't have a business or create any type of success or and create a movement if you can't get attention. And so with her story, it was very attention grabbing. Like, what, you had this thing, and it was really bad, and you didn't know how to deal with it, and then now you know how to take care of it, and you can help other people, and you're this big anomaly. People don't understand how it was so bad for you. And it was like the story was just like, you can't make this up if you try. So being able to articulate that, and going through writing the first book, that was that was a process. And I remember days, we reading the chapters and going through and learning how to become an author. And a lot of people wouldn't know, she writes like a screenwriter, right? The
Yeah, I
first
do.
first edit of the book was nothing like like it came out. I was like, I feel like I'm reading a script to like tell to write a movie. And so then we
Hmm.
worked together to kind of get that to be that amazing delivery. Now that you see all the great reviews whenever people read her books, so and she developed her amazing reading style through that. I'm sorry, writing style, and which just makes for a great read. And then you have the course. When we got around to creating something that was just really the crown jewel of the whole, education piece of what people in the lymphatic space need. New people diagnosed with lymphedema, right? Or even if you've been diagnosed for a little while, but you just still aren't fully sure about how to take care of your disease. We created the lymphedema blueprint course to be exactly what it's called, the blueprint for how to take care of lymphedema. From the mindset to the nutrition to the exercises to the therapies to the products to the, are you a good candidate for surgery or not? Like, it's the full spectrum. And we had industry experts from all around the world weigh in on that product. It's a big project. Costs a lot of money to put together. Took a lot of resources, took a lot of time, but we wanted to create something that was going to be absolutely like the end all be all for what people can go to and find truth, right? It's about individualized care. There's not a one size fits all. So you got to get a spectrum of information, right? So that you can then know where you fit, right? Okay, I got this part, but this part's new. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's makes such a profound, difference in my care. Oh, this is great. I got this from here. And we wanted to make it affordable for everyone, you know. So,
Yeah.
we didn't make it,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars, when you think about, well, what does it take to get the number one in any particular industry's time, right? Or what does it take, to have someone doing this or doing that it's like, none of that matters. We need to put this in the hands where it counts, put this in the hands where everyone, and we're proud and happy that we partnered with some nonprofits that took our, course and are making it a resource for those available. And, if they need a discount, they can go through those avenues. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was one of a really, really big passion project that we went into in serving the lymphedema community with the information that they so
Yeah.
desperately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I mean,
yeah.
like I said, that it just developed all these things. So sorry, I get just
No, it's great.
I
It's
get passionate
fantastic.
whenever I talk,
And
everything that.
he's the reason why I don't give everything away for free. 'Cause I would
Well,
give
that's
everything
good.
away free, and I mean, that's just how much I want to help people, and he
Right.
knows that about me. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
So talking about giving things away for free, let's talk about the products and services one by one that you have developed together to serve other people with lymphedema and with problems of the lymphatic system. So Will mentioned your quote unquote your first book. So how many books are there and what are the books, and can we show a book on screen? And I want to talk about how people can get this book and what's in these books. Let's start right there.
Sure. So, Drop the Skirt: How My Disability Became My Superpower
Right?
was it was a book to share the emotional journey of not just lymphedema, but anyone dealing with any types of situations like bullying or feeling like insecure themselves, or body dysmorphia. It was a real authentic chapter of my life that I wanted to open up and share with people, because it's easy for people on social media to see me as a strong individual, but they don't know what I go through privately. And I wanted to be as open as I can, because we all go through that. And it's really important for them to know that they're not alone. So that book is on riveramethod.com. You can purchase it directly from our website. And I have to just say, the cover of the book is literally the very skirt I was wearing when I decided to start telling my story. So that's why it's called Drop the Skirt, because I used to hide my leg under long skirts and dresses. And so that was why I picked the cover of me dropping the skirt. The second book is called Lymphedema United. And that was a project created from the Ninjas Fighting Lymphedema Foundation that Will and I started years ago. And when I saw the response of not just women, but also men and children connecting with Drop the Skirt, I knew just how important it was to bring all the voices together all over the world to spread a global awareness campaign such as a way. And each of these individuals wrote a chapter about their life with lymphedema. And that you can find on Amazon under Lymphedema United as well. We are currently updating the Ninjas Fighting Lymphedema website, and it will also be on that website where they can purchase the book directly as well.
Which is winourfight.org.
.org.
Winourfight.org. And so Drop the Skirt, again, it's a book that I've been aware of a long time. It's got it's great. It's got sort of a provocative title, but as Amy said, it's not what it appears to be on face value. It was because she was hiding her limb, and as she described, and I encourage everybody to go to these sites and learn more about Amy. And she's very candid and open with photographs of how her leg once looked. And it was really, as she said at one point, at the elephantiasis stage, and very dramatic, and just in many ways, uh, you know, shocking and heartbreaking. And so you could see why a young woman would have, and we should mention beauty pageant winner and so on and so forth, as her husband mentioned, with a beautiful face, uh, would be plagued with such a disfiguring, um, and emotionally and physically devastating disease, would want to hide her leg and her lower extremity. Um, and it took a lot of courage and growth and self-awareness to have the courage to drop the skirt and start wearing pants and things like that that let people know, hey, my one leg is a lot bigger than my other leg, and you're going to have to accept me for who I am while I go through this fight. So it's a wonderful book. I recommend everybody get it and read it, whether you're in the lymphedema space or not, whether you suffer from lymphedema or not. As Amy mentioned, it it's a great lesson to all of us for all of the struggles that we go through in our life. And we all do, as was pointed out by today's guest, we all have our own struggles, shortcomings, apprehensions, weaknesses, and so on. So that's that. The Lymphedema United book, we highlighted on an episode of the Lymphcast podcast some time ago, and we had a special series, and I recommend everybody go back to the Lymphcast podcast to see Amy on those programs, where we brought many of the individual stories from the book as guests, as real people to share their experiences. So those are two extraordinary resources and both inspirational for any human being. Um, so that's the books, and now let's go to the other project business that, Will mentioned, the Blueprint course. Tell us how that works, how people access it, where they can find it, and who it's appropriate for.
Do you want to answer that, Will, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Huh?
So the lymphedema blueprint course is also available on riveramethod.com. And that is for anyone with lymphedema. Anyone. Whether you've had lymphedema for 10 years, your whole life, 50 years, or you just found out yesterday you had lymphedema. It's for everyone, and it's a simple course where you go in. You once you purchase the course, and it's set up on a learn at your own pace structure. So you come in into the introduction of the course, you attend a particular module, and then at the end of the modules, there's a quiz, and you can't unlock the next module until you get 100% on the quiz, because we don't just want to just have people just fast forward and click through stuff. We really want to have impact. We really want to educate people, and we really want them to get what all that they have to get out of this course. There's so much amazing knowledge. Like I said, we've got industry experts from all around the world that took the time and the resources to weigh into this project. So we really want everyone to get everything out of there. There's tons of literature that's also available inside of the course as well that you can download, print out, have that as additional resources as well. And once you get to the end of the course, you actually get a certificate of completion, right? Saying, you completed the lymphedema blueprint course. You now have what you need to not just survive with lymphedema, but begin to thrive with lymphedema. This disease no longer needs to define you. You now have all of the tools in your toolkit to exhibit the same resilience that Amy Rivera exhibits, right? You now have everything that you need, that this disease no longer consumes you, conquers you, and owns you. It's a part of you, but it's a part of you. You are a part of it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. So that's the lymphedema blueprint course. Again, riveramethod.com. It's on there. All the details um, are on there for everything that it
And we
offers.
do and we do update the course as things update. So, if there's new information out there, new techniques, new products, we do update the course as needed. If we have new contributors, um, so we will do that, and then we send an update to not only the people who are in the course, but those who are interested, and of course to everyone else who follows, just so they know that it is an actively growing course and it will always evolve and innovate. And anyone who purchases it, they have a lifetime access. It's not about monthly reoccurring fees or anything. They just get it, and then they will always have it to use as a resource, even if they're talking to someone that they love, or maybe a physician that they're trying to get to understand about their disease. Or maybe it's an update and they're like, well, let me go back and see what's new in the course. Maybe it's something I haven't heard of yet. And so that is something that we're committed to doing, moving, from the beginning. We're always going to innovate and push the course out even more as we begin to learn more, because as you know, Dr. Chuback, we learn so much. We're always learning more and more about the lymphatic system, or what's connected to what lymphatic diseases are connected to other diseases. And there's as we continue to learn that, I want to share that as a resource to people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. We're always, again, with my company related to the lymphatic system, VitaSupport MD, and the supplements, we're always looking at new research, new
Mhm.
science, what's happening, what's the latest, coming out with new products and things. And this is what we have to do in order to serve to the best of our ability. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to go back to something that Will said, and I want to make sure that I'm not wrong about this. But Will mentioned it would be perfect for anybody with lymphedema, and I couldn't agree more. But I think, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, I think that it goes beyond that. I think that anybody involved in the lymphedema healthcare space, like a lymphatic therapist or physicians, because I can speak as a board certified general surgeon, cardiovascular surgeon, thoracic surgeon, vascular surgeon. I've done all of these things in my career. Amy knows very well, Will knows as well. The amount of training that we as physicians get in the lymphatic system and lymphedema is as close to zero as you can get without it being zero. And I feel that many vascular surgeons, primary care doctors, vein specialists, uh, internal medicine doctors, orthopedic surgeons. I mean, there's not a physician that I don't think would benefit from the knowledge that's in that course because although they're not a patient, they would learn so much making believe they were a patient and going through it from that point of view and perspective. I give you an example right now myself. I'm doing okay, but just because of the nature of my work, I get a little bit of rotator cuff problem from time to time. So I, couldn't take it anymore. I started working recently with a physical therapist. Now I have been writing prescriptions to send patients to physical therapists for 25 years, but I'd never been to one. Now my perspective and my knowledge and my understanding of what physical therapy is heads and tails above what it was 3 or 4 weeks ago because I've had the experience of going through the process. I thought I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was. I had a general sense, but not a real sense. And that's why I think if physicians are seeing patients with lymphedema, with lower extremity swelling that they don't really understand, certified lymphedema therapists, anybody in the podiatrist, orthopedic surgeon, anybody interacting with this patient set, I think would benefit from going through this course. What do you guys think?
Absolutely, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with that. There's one element of the course that I still haven't mentioned, and that's the private community. So there's an exclusive private community that comes as a part of the course. You get lifetime access to this community. And so this is a tight-knit community. It's not on Facebook or anything like that. This is exclusively a lymphedema blueprint course community. You get your own login and password and you're inside of our client portal. And inside of that community, you get to see others with lymphedema, but in a more private, intimate space, right? It's not like, on social media for the world to see. And, you've got all people and having medical professionals in that community could absolutely be beneficial, right? So that they can see so many examples of people living with it, talking about it, learning about it, and they themselves learning alongside the other patients. And, we've got gamification in there and ways to keep everyone just try to make learning about a subject that isn't necessarily fun, right?
That's great. Yeah.
So yeah. And you were going to say something? Sorry,
I
I
know.
didn't.
No, no, no. It's amazing what you're saying. I think that there's no question. Amy knows that I hosted the Lymphcast podcast for 2.5 years. It's something that's still ongoing. We're going to be making some new episodes soon. But I'm in many ways sort of the venous and lymphatic expert as the host of the show, but I can tell you we never did an episode where I didn't learn something from our guests, whether those guests were other physicians, scientists, people from industry, or patients. So we're all on this journey of learning together. So I just think that for clinicians of any kind, it's a wonderful, wonderful resource. Now, I want to ask another question, and I don't know if this is a separate project, a separate business, a separate service, but we've mentioned several times on the show now the Rivera method. What is the Rivera method?
So I'll let Amy get into the Rivera method as what it is, but I'll just say that that's the next tier up of services that we offer, right? You kind of have the books that's for everyone, the low ticket offer. You've got the lymphedema blueprint course, it's kind of the mid ticket offer, and then you get into the high ticket, the consulting. And so I'll let Amy kind of explain the Rivera method to you. Go ahead.
So the Rivera method stems from my own journey of not seeing other people not understand how to teach me how to treat myself. So when I would go to a physician's office, like you said, you learn so much from, other people. Well, my physicians that I was seeing, they weren't learning from me. They weren't telling me how to learn how to treat my symptoms. And when we are in these private groups talking, us lymphedema patients, that's where the realness comes out. That's where we're able to really talk about our real feelings. And there was a lot of frustration of there's these other methodologies to teach people how to take care of this, but there was no methodology on how to teach us how to take care of us, how to take care of us ourselves. And what better way than from someone who lives with it to teach you how to take care of your symptoms with lymphedema or other lymphatic diseases. And so the Rivera method stemmed from a patient perspective on how to teach another person living with the same disease how to treat those symptoms. So I wanted people to learn how to, like Will said earlier, thrive than simply survive. And I was barely surviving when I would go from one doctor visit to another, and I wasn't being taught that nutrition was a trigger. I wasn't being taught that movement was a thing. I wasn't taught that depression is real or body dysmorphia was a thing. I was taught you need to wear compression. This is what it is. And would you like a prescription? And that was over and over and over again. We weren't taught how to manage the symptoms. We were taught how to put a Band-Aid on them and then keep on moving. And so even though all the other methodologies are out there to teach people how to become therapists or how to become mental health coaches with this are wonderful and they're needed, they're important. But so is learning how to manage it yourself in the comfort of your own home because you live with it 24/7 and you are the expert of your own body. And we have to learn that we can manage those symptoms if we really think we're the expert, and we give you the tools and the items to become the expert in treating your lymphedema or your lymphatic disease. So that's where the Rivera method came from. As from a patient perspective approach, not a clinical approach, is where it stems from.
There's methods, right? The Foley method, all these methods on how to treat the symptoms. But Amy was seeking for, there's nothing out there for how to self-treat as well as that focuses on preventative maintenance and the mental aspect of it, right? And then all of these other ancillary things. So with the Rivera method, you think preventative maintenance, you think mental care, and you think innovation, right? But if you want to kind of go back in and give your your take on
Me?
the Rivera method.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really from a patient perspective. There's nothing out there from a patient perspective who truly understands what someone's going through with this. And you can educate yourself as much as you possibly can, but until you live it, you don't understand it. And that was what the Rivera method came from, was the patient perspective of, let me show you how to thrive with lymphedema. And here are the steps to take. And this is the method that I've created that's helped me. And it's not something that's like, you can see it's helped me. You can track my journey. You can see the progress. You can see everything I've ever done and everything that I've incorporated in my journey to get where I am today is because of my method. And that's what I wanted to share with other people who live with lymphatic diseases, is the method that's helped me to get to where I am today.
Amazing. So if I'm a patient with lymphedema, I could go to, is it the riveramethod.com, right? I've read your books. I love them. I'm a part of the Blueprint program and the community. And now I say, I'm looking to level up. I want to go top tier. Now I can look at possibly, is it a one-on-one course with Amy Rivera? How does it work?
So it
Yes.
depends on, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah. that's where you get into consulting, right? One-on-one consulting with
Right.
Amy. It depends, there's a couple of different avenues on what it looks like, and we've got, processes on how we can, extract the information that we need, figure out where you are, where do you want to go, are you a good fit? How can we work together? And then Amy can then go in and do her one-on-one consulting for patient advocacy consulting, and a couple other things. But I'll let her. She's right here.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
no.
Right.
Well, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. It really depends on the type of consulting. So I obviously do patient consulting, but I also do corporate consulting. If it's like a healthcare company wanting to grow their business, what if they want to reach more people? What if they want to better understand how to serve their clients? What if they want to understand from a patient's perspective so they can gain more empathy and understanding on how to treat them. So it really depends on what the client's needs are and where do I fit in to help them grow. And like Will said, we do have systems that are in place that if it is a patient who would like to better understand how to mentally get through, a part of their journey, because all of us are at different parts of our journey. And so maybe someone is struggling a little more over here and they want more one-on-one. Well, that looks completely different than me working with a client who wants to build their business and bring more outreach, such as therapists owning their own mobile therapy clinics, or a therapist who has her own private clinic, or a physician who says, I think I'm going to open another location over here, but here's what I would like to do. So it just all really depends. And that's kind of what we do.
With the corporate consulting, if you got a lymphedema company looking to create a lymphedema product, and you want the number one lymphedema advocate in the world on your team to give you insight from a patient's perspective that's tried every single product under the sun, has relationships with, everyone, very valuable when you're building a company where your target market is inside of lymphedema. So the corporate consulting element of it, that's kind of the top tier, but the patient advocacy consulting is there to help patients through whatever part of the lymphedema journey that they're in. If they're really wanting that one-on-one, I've read the books, I've gone through the course, I'm in the community, but I'm really struggling with this piece, or I'm brand new and I just really want to go fast in terms
Mhm.
of downloading as much information as I can, and I'm willing to pay for Amy Rivera's time one-on-one for X amount of hours a month. Okay, well then that option is there too, right? And we have never had anyone feel like it wasn't, we can absolutely over deliver for them, right? So
I'm not surprised.
that's
So that's really more coaching than consulting even, right? That's
Yeah.
because Amy's not functioning as a practitioner at this time, although she was a nurse, but she is coaching and advising in a one-on-one way
Mhm.
from everything from physical, I'm sure, to emotional, psychological, and all the aspects that people with lymphedema have to work through. So that's an
Mhm.
amazing, amazing opportunity. And now I think it brings us to the next step. Now, how about the products? There are products available also, aren't there?
Oh, the Fast and Go compression products?
Correct.
Yes, we have those. And then we also have Expanda socks that cover the bandages to keep them clean, as well.
So tell us about those products, how how you develop them, how they work, how people can find them, and what their utility and value is.
So the Fast and Go hybrid compression bandages are the first single layer multi-component hybrid compression bandage, and they're available on riveramethod.com. Um, and so, as well as the Expanda socks, which is a expandable sock. It's a knee-high sock, right? So those are both compression products designed to help with self-care, self-maintenance of the condition. And yeah, I mean, those are absolutely a game changer for many people that don't have trained hands available all the time,
Mhm.
right? So anyone can utilize those products to help maintain any progress that they have had, and in between therapy sessions, if you will, right? You go to therapy, nothing's going to replace what the therapists do, and the gold standard traditional bandaging, and all of that. But we've got these supplementary products, that if you go home and you can't recreate what the therapist did, at least you can do this,
Yeah.
and yeah, again, those are
So,
available on
yeah.
Rivera.com.
Well, and the thing is anyone who has lymphedema understands that we have to have multiple tools in our toolbox. And there are some days that compression garments may not be the tool for us. There are other days where multi-layer bandaging may be the tool. But what about those days when we're in between? We need some compression, but we can't quite tolerate all of it. That's where the Fast and Go comes in. It's really made for home services in between those therapeutic stages, or maybe their other bandages got soiled, but they still need some sort of compression, or maybe they need some compression in the evening time, but they just don't want too much. We're always innovating and thinking forward with how we can make people's lives easier with living with lymphedema, no matter what the product is. And then the expanded socks keep your products clean, because maybe we can only afford one pair of compression products, and maybe we have to wash them all the time if we keep them dirty. So again, it goes back to, how can I make someone's life a little easier? And that's what these products do for people.
And we didn't develop them. We're North American exclusive distributors.
Oh yeah.
Of the Fast and Go products specifically.
Okay, wonderful. So it's an association, a partnership with another company that's made the products, and you all are distributing them and promoting them, which is great. I mean, I think as a clinician who's got many years of experience now in taking care of patients in general, one of the things that happens as an experienced clinician as you grow is that when you're very young, you think you know all the right answers all the time for the patient, and you sort of come out of school and training, sort of dictating to patients what you've been taught to be the best way to do this, that, or the other thing. And then a more mature, more experienced clinician realizes that, like all human beings, like yourself, patients have good days and bad days, better days and worse days, up days and down days, days where they feel highly motivated, and days where they feel like they want to quit. And so with compression, that has been my experience. And I always advise my patients that, generally speaking, some compression is better than no compression. And there are days where somebody can do a 30 to 40 garment, and some days when they can do a 20 to 30. And there are some days when they can tolerate, a TED stocking, the old white stocking. And some
Yeah.
days when people just don't want anything on their legs. So I think having, as you say, lots of tools in your toolbox. I always say it's like a surgeon. You go to the cardiac surgical operating room, you look at that back table, there's 500 instruments. Now, I might only use 50 in the operation, but that one day, that one moment where I want that thing, it ought to be on that table so that it's sterile and ready to go, and it's the right tool for the job in that situation. So I think having all of those options is great for everybody. And for us clinicians to know that there are lots of tools and lots of options as well, that we can have patients go and explore and experiment with and try and see what works for them, is also very, very valuable. So, well, guys, you tell me. I have come to the end of what I know about Amy and Will Rivera and what they do and what they're offering. But if I've missed anything, now's the time to let us know. Are there any other offering services or resources?
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Okay, good.
well, I was just going to say, one of the biggest questions I get on LinkedIn is, how do I do everything? And how do I keep up, and how do I keep going, especially with all the projects and things that I do, like writing books and speaking and conferences and everything. And that is because of what Will does with the company. I tell people, people think Will's passion is lymphedema, but his passion is helping me help people with lymphedema. But he has a whole nother road that he works on. And so with his skill set is the reason I'm on the first page of Google when you type my name. It's not because I'm super amazing and all these things. It's because I have a team who knows how to put me in front of the right people. And so I'm gonna let him answer this question that I get all the time on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So Rivera Hybrid Solutions is essentially a consulting company, right? So, with what we offer is artificial intelligence services. We're also a software as a service provider. We've got digital and print marketing services available, and then we offer operations and branding consulting, right? And so Rivera Hybrid Solutions has developed a product, Smart Hub System, and it's available at smarthubsystem.com. And you can go there and you can see all of these products and services that we have available that are specifically designed to help entrepreneurs streamline, automate, and scale their business. Right. So a lot of times, like, oh, you're the number one lymphedema advocate in the world, and done all these things, and you're doing all these, I type in Amy Rivera, and the first two pages on Google is all you, and you got this and that all going on. And this is, I mean, it's been a long road, 10 years of building and learning, growing, and developing all of the things behind the scenes that helped kind of elevate her. And, we got to a point where, now it made sense to pivot, and be able to offer to other people what I've done for my wife. Right. And so now, through Smart Hub System and all those services, over the years, I've cultivated a global team, and we help entrepreneurs do what they want to do. The tech stack nowadays is very overwhelming. If you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm sure you need your email marketing service, you need a CRM, you need, what's all this AI stuff? How do I get my reviews to go up? I got to build a website. What's the difference between a website and a funnel and marketing? And it's too much. I need a marketing person. And then you hear the horror stories. I paid this marketing company $15,000 and I didn't get anything out of it. And they made me a Facebook ad and it flops. And, and I don't have any control of my website. Every time I got to do something, I got to, email them for them to help me. And we shatter all the old ways of what that is. And I empower the entrepreneur to be in control of their business, have absolute visibility of all of their key metrics, and streamline all of those softwares. They can start just cutting subscriptions off all the way around your MailChimps and your Salesforces and your cut everything out, and your Calendly, everything, and streamline it all into one software for one low price. You can come in, build your entire business off of that. And then now me and my global team are there as an extension to you, acting as your business partner to help you hit the ground running and compress time so that you can present yourself online to the world the same way my wife now does. And it doesn't need to take you 10 years to do it. Right. So,
or gray hairs and everything else that comes with it. But now all of that has given me my time back, and that's what's really important. And so I'm able to take care of my disease even more now than I was before. And when I see how important it is to have time back, especially as an entrepreneur, we don't get our time back, and it's the most expensive thing that we have to lose. And so now I want to help my husband help more people, just like he helped me help more people. And so at the end of the day, we just want to continue to helping people, whatever that path is directed towards, the journey, who knows? But as long as we keep impacting people's lives and leaving a positive impact, that's all that matters.
Fantastic. Well, I think that brings us full circle, which is quite an amazing family story, a personal story for Amy and a family story for Amy and Will. And it's just, again, remarkable and inspirational. And I recommend all our viewers, whether you're a patient suffering from lymphedema or any kind of lymphatic disorder, to a clinician, physician, therapist, I think you need to check these guys out. And for my followers and anyone watching who is interested in entrepreneurship or healthcare entrepreneurship, I think you need to check out the services that Will Rivera is now offering after a decade of doing the thing, learning it, walking the road, and condensing it, knowing that he had his wife's best interests in mind in developing the system that he's come up with. I think that should tell you a lot about how much he believes in what he's doing as well. So, with that, Will and Amy Rivera, uh, great talk. As always, Will, it was a pleasure to meet you. Amy, always a pleasure. And I'm sure that we
Yeah.
will circle the wagons once again, not too long down the road, and do some more to share some light on the good work that you all are doing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so
You as
much for
well.
having us. It was a
All right.
pleasure.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.